Greetings and salutations, earthlings. I feel like a frog in my throat. I keep singing that song, the song, It's Been a While, which is kind of funny because it has to do with addiction, but I'm thinking of it in terms of YouTubing. I have this really bad habit, and I'm going to call it a habit, but it's a little bit that it's not a habit either. But of telling people I've just been so busy. Like I've been really busy. And historically, that is a fact. Wow, that's really smoking. Because I got a paper route when I was 11 years old and I never looked back. It's just been work since then. So and then when I had like little kids, they were little and and that was work, and I still worked like at a restaurant. And anyway, but there's this funny thing when you have a voice inside your head that's like, people, it's the first thing that jumps to my mind. Like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I haven't called you. I've been really busy. And it's like, no, you're not. No, you're not. And I'm not, but I'm like so well rested. I'm doing good. Like I'm doing really, really well. And but there is a part of me that feels like, and I got to sit with this for a bit because it's been coming up for me over the past month, where I've been, not that busy. In August, what I did is, I put everything down. Like I just put down a lot of things that I was doing because I was starting to feel overwhelmed. And I'm like, well, I don't want to do that. And so but I'm like, what do I want to do? I actually listen to my own astrology videos. I pay attention. But I was like, what do I want to do? And there were things that were happening and that were frustrating. And I was like, well, this isn't working. And I was getting all up in my victim mode. So I'm like, I'm just going to put things down. Zeke and I were going to North Carolina to visit my family in the Outer Banks. Like I had family visits, I had stuff like that going on. So I was still doing stuff, but I decided to stop doing the videos for a little while, but because I wanted to kind of see what I wanted to pick back up. That was my thing. Is like I'm going to take kind of put everything down, and then I'm going to pick up the things that I like doing. And the other day, last week, I was like, holy shit, where's Mercury? So Mercury moves kind of fast. I'm pretty good at paying attention to where the moon is, and that moves even faster. But I just like knowing where the moon is. So I'm good about that. But Mercury moves relatively quickly. And I'm like, Mercury's going into retrograde soon. And I couldn't figure out where it was. And what I love about doing the videos is that like every fucking day, I know where each planet is at and what degree they're at. And I actually missed doing videos. So like I like doing these, even just for me. Because sometimes I get on whatever, some people might call it channeling or whatever, but channeling is just a weird way, I think, of saying like in a zone. But when you're on a roll and you're just kind of like, where are these words even coming from? That happens sometimes too when I write. But anyway, yeah, I couldn't figure out where Mercury was. And I'm like, I want to start doing videos again. And then it's kind of like starting something when you haven't been doing it for a while. And I'm like out of whatever, starting the video and doing all that like routine. And I'm like, holy crap, why does this feel so big? And there are reasons for that too, which I'll get to. But I'm like, you know what, Larry, I've been talking to Larry a lot. That's like my main guide. And I was like, just you tell me when it's time to start. Like, because that again, then I was pressuring myself, like, well, you got to start doing your videos. And, there's like a fucking taskmaster back here. And there's no need for that. So I was just outside and I was like, oh, there's the moon up there in Aquarius hanging out with Saturn, and there's Jupiter over there. And I'm like, I'm going to make a video. So anyway, the moon, as I speak, is with Saturn in Aquarius. So we're kind of feeling thoughtful. It's making some good trines. The moon with Saturn is not easy, but that's tonight. By tomorrow, it'll be over. Aquarius is we're kind of like thinking outside the box, thinking about the future, thinking about humanity. The moon is making good aspects to Mars, to the nodes of the moon. So that's like where we're coming from, where we're going. But other than that, I was going to say really quick, I've just had a lot of things going on. I've been doing a lot in here. Okay. A lot of growing, a lot of dealing with some like victim stuff that I had, victim mentality things that I have going on. Just a lot of self exploration, and really finding deep-seated beliefs and stuff like that. And everything I observe, I'm just learning exponentially about myself. And something will happen and I'll be like, even dumb shit. So I have this thing where, when I drive to Texas, from Colorado, I'm in Texas right now, or when I drive back and forth, I have this fucking weird thing about not stopping because I feel stupid. And I can't figure out what that's about. But this is the kind of stuff I've been thinking about. And I went to the airport to drop off Zeke because he was flying back to Colorado. And I was like, you're in San Antonio. You should maybe do something or hang out or whatever. And there was that little voice that was like, no, you would look stupid, or like, and I'm like, what is that? Where is that coming from? So I went somewhere and I ate by myself, and part of it, I think, is just I'm always rushing from here to there. It's like there's always a goal, and that's the human condition. I think that with meditation, it makes me stop. And whenever I do, I'm like, oh, yeah, it's all right here. You know what I mean? And that's easy when I'm sitting on a foot like cushion in front of my altar to be right here. And no matter how hard things are or how many like thoughts come up, I still get that moment of like, oh, we're gonna hang out, just me and me. So there's that, and that's what I have been doing with my time on my own, because I get so goal oriented, and there's a place for that, but there's a place for enjoying the process, and I was not enjoying the process. Plus, I have the sun and Mars and my house of joy and creativity, and Uranus is transiting over my Mars, and I just want to fucking do what I want. Astrology is crazy. Anyway, so I had that going on. And And then another one is this busy thing. Like, why do I always have to tell people that I'm busy? I think it's because partly because I'm insecure about what I'm doing, being really vulnerable right here, because this isn't a real job. You know what I mean? Um, doing readings and stuff like that. And so I have some, and yeah, you're going to learn a lot about me. I don't give a shit. That's kind of what I was working on too, because I felt like I was trying to, in this place where I was chasing and trying to prove like I'm doing real work. And that's not where I know I'm not going to succeed from that point, coming at it from that direction. So anyway, just all kinds of shit going on here, which brings me to um, things are okay. So we have Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, and Pluto, all retrograde. Those planets retrograde mostly means that they travel a lot slower, like they transit a lot slower through the sky and for longer periods of time. So we will feel the initial shift, like when they go into retrograde, but otherwise we'd be like, half of our life would be fucked, which I don't think you're fucked when a retrograde is going on anyway. I think that's just something that like astrologers do to create like a buzz. But all that it means is that we might feel the initial shift where the journey goes from forward momentum, okay, to internal momentum, where we're introspective. And I won't get into what each of those planets is about now, but basically a lot of aspects of our lives are internal. Like when I'm by myself, I'm like, I just make so much sense to me. I don't understand anybody else. And if anybody out there is feeling that, I kind of, feel free to let me know. But it's the planets, we're figuring ourselves out. And when I do these videos, it's like there's kind of a lens that I look through. And if you're good with doing self-exploration and you're on a path of internal growth and trying to understand and make sense of yourself and work through your shadow and all that, this process doesn't feel so difficult. But if somebody is trying to avoid doing the inner work, it's just going to be it'll be experienced in a different way, probably a little bit tougher, where they might be seeing all these problems on the outside and they're not taking ownership for anything that they could be working on in themselves. But anyway, so we have 5 planets in retrograde. Mercury is in its shadow. And Mercury, well, I'm going to talk about that. So Mercury is in Libra. Libra is colored by how we relate to other people. Are things fair? Are they balanced? It's relationships. What do we give? What do we take? What do we receive? Libra wants fairness and it's like listening to others. So what is going on right now? Like if you think that you're making progress, or if there's just a notable issue that you have going on, do not be surprised if you spend a period of like review, because Mercury will retrograde from September 26th until October, I don't have my glasses on, October 17th, it looks like. So September 26th to October 17th, we'll be in a period of review. And for me, Mercury retrogrades, I believe, are time it's just a time to kind of like check ourselves. And if we go into it knowing I might hit some glitches here, or I might hit some stops and have to rearrange some stuff, or I might get new information that makes something obsolete or have to change. If we keep that in mind and we're not attached to outcomes during a Mercury retrograde, that's kind of why they say don't sign contracts, which, you know, I'm not really of that like thing. I bought a car during a Mercury retrograde. That's where if it's affecting your individual chart, like if you had a reading and it was, you know, fucking with another planet, then it would be, you know. But anyway, by and large, Mercury retrogrades are only a big deal if they're messing with you individually. But if you're mindful that you might just hit some stumbling blocks, and you go with the flow, then they're easier. Okay, which life in general is easier if you're not overly attached to outcomes and are aware that you might hit stumbling blocks. Anyway, there's my wisdom. But so we have Mercury in its shadow. Mars is in Libra, and Mars in Libra is considered in detriment because Mars is the warrior. And like I was saying, Libra is about balance and fairness. So, you know, Mars is how we go after what we want. And in Libra, Mars has to be fair and convincing about it. And so it's just not his favorite place, you know. And then Venus is in Scorpio, and Venus is in detriment in Scorpio. And, you know, Scorpio is kind of secretive. It's about letting things go, transmuting things. It's deep emotions. It can be dark emotions that we don't want to, you know, talk about. And Venus is, she wants what she wants, you know, and so she doesn't want to have a tell-all, like big secret conversation that might influence a relationship. Or Venus is also money, and possessions and pretty nice things. So Scorpio is just kind of a dark place for her. So Venus is not exactly happy. Mars is not exactly happy. And we have those 5 planets in retrograde. Mercury is in his shadow. And then there's the sun and the moon, and the sun and the moon never retrograde, right? You know, the sun does okay in Virgo. Virgo is like trying to figure out the facts of our life. So it's kind of good that there's this internal stuff going on, like a reordering, because the sun is in Virgo. And right now the moon is in Aquarius. We're coming up on a full moon in Pisces, and the full moon in Pisces is going to be like letting go of. Pisces rules like endings, you know, deep emotions. It's a very spiritual full moon. It can, you know, we can even kind of receive like messages or feel really connected. I always feel Pisces full moons pretty intensely. So anyway, there's a lot of stuff going on the inside at the moment, and it might not all feel real good, especially if inside is where we don't want to be doing the work. You know, if there's anything that's hiding, that you're hiding from yourself, and you're not accustomed to doing that kind of like hardcore looking at yourself. This is making me think of another story. Whatever, I'm just doing whatever I want with these videos now because I like doing them. And I used to have a job marketing, so my marketing brain gets in there, and I'm not marketing here. Like, I'm just talking. So anyway, shut up, little marketer. We'll talk to you later. We'll do some work with you later. But anyway, if there's anything that bubbles up, take a look at it where you might want kind of usually be inclined to avoid something. Be like, what's that about? Like even a simple thing like, why do I never take my time when I'm driving back and forth I have no reason to get somewhere at a particular time. So like, why don't I just stop and enjoy myself? Oh, there's a park there are scenic overlooks and all that, like all the way in between here and Colorado and all around. There's always something that you can stop and do. But anyway, another thing that I've been thinking about, okay, for some reason in YouTube, narcissist videos have been coming up for me. So a lot of people might be talking about narcissists, and it got me thinking about there was a time when I was called a narcissist, okay, and I had been kind of gaslit to the point where I doubted my own reality, and this was a long time ago, and I actually was Googling like, how do you know if you're a narcissist? And it was pretty much like, if you're looking up to find a quiz to see if you're a narcissist, you're probably not. However, I was reading through the things and I'm like, I'm not a narcissist, but I was called one repeatedly. And there was a time after I started on the spiritual path where I was called a narcissist again. And it was when, I was exploring shadow work and stuff like that. And so when somebody called me something, if I got mad about it, I'm like, okay, that lives inside me. Otherwise, I wouldn't care. And this time I was like, oh, no, I'm not, they are, they're projecting. But spirit was like, and I'm like, what? Like, I don't have to look at that one. That's not in me. And they were like, narcissist. Okay. So narcissistic. I've come to the point where I don't like the word narcissist. So I'm like, okay, there are narcissistic qualities. Now, if we all have narcissistic qualities, like otherwise we wouldn't really have any desire to live. I'm gonna have to think about that one. That's kind of what's coming to my mind. But it's self-preservation, and actually like caring about ourselves. It's just not going overboard. So what I had to do with that work, and it was actually a really big one for me, is I had to go inside and find narcissistic qualities that I had, which were playing the victim. Um, See, even in here, it's my ego is like, you weren't playing, you were a victim. Like the victim role, it just it doesn't help. It didn't help me. I'll say that much. Like it kept me there because I had the locus of control was outside of me. It was nowhere inside me to own that victim part in any way. And I have changed my fucking life by taking responsibility for situations where even somebody else might look at it and clearly go like, no, you're actually a victim. Um, but I don't care to wear that label. So, but when spirit was like, no, I really actually want you to look at that narcissist word. Even though I simply didn't feel that one inside, I did find narcissistic qualities. So that's what I mean by really taking things and examining yourself when they come up, because you can actually fucking do something about yourself. You can't really do anything about anybody else. Is that true? I just said that. You know, you can speak your truth, but I've got to be okay with me. And if I'm okay with me, then I hope other people are okay. And the more that I work on myself, the more that they are, is just what I find. The more time I spend looking in here, the better everything out here looks. It's really fucking true. It's so trite. And it's really hard to do. And I don't mean by any means that I'm like done or in every aspect of my life, but it's certainly where I go when I'm really frustrated. I say that because maybe it'll be useful. Like we're gonna come into some difficult times because we've got Mars and Venus that aren't happy. We've got 5 planets in retrograde. Mercury is about to do a retrograde, so we're going to be reviewing stuff. It's just not going to be simple. So when things are not simple for me, I do what I can do in here, you know, and I look for what in me is finding the current situation unsettling, you know, and how can I come to a place where I accept it? Anyway, I've got to go. You'll be seeing more of me, who knows, sporadically, whenever, but I really did miss doing this stuff. So I hope you have a great day on earth. Peace. Namaste.